My name's Angelo, and welcome to We Want Picks. I'm going to break down the entire UFC Vegas 60 fight card, giving you my picks, my predictions, and my DraftKings plays. But before I jump in, become a premium member. If you go to WeWantPicks.com, at the top, click Become a Member. It is only $10 a month. And we give you all sorts of exclusive betting content. But more importantly, if you're watching this video, you care about DraftKings. We have a DraftKings optimizer included in that $10 membership. It will be pre-populated every Friday afternoon with the ownership projections, with the points projections, and all you need to do is click a few buttons and it will build anywhere from 1 to 150 lineups for you. On top of that, we have fighter rankings by salary, every single fighter. We have ownership projections that we put out. We have an enormous amount of content that is all included in that $10 price point. We will never raise the price. We will continue to add features. And even if you think I'm a moron and don't know what I'm talking about, the optimizer alone is worth $10. WeWantPicks.com. At the top, click Become a Member. It is $2.50 a week, and we have had some big-time cashers. Our buddy Joe Todoro, premium member, took down $70,000 just a few months ago. A couple of 13 grand takedowns, a couple of many, 3, 4, 5 grand takedowns as well. WeWantPicks.com. At the top, click Become a Member. So let's go ahead and break down the entire card. And this is an interesting card because we have 28 fighters to choose from, and a lot of these fights are very, very close. So this is going to be an interesting week. This is why I love the optimizer on weeks like this. Like, let the projected point scoring, let the algorithm figure this out for you, because this is a tricky, tricky week. But I'm going to walk through, and we're going to start with the first fight on the card. We got Nicholas Mata. He's taking on Cameron Van Camp. This is one of those fights I'll talk about. I think this is a super close fight. Jacob has picked Cameron Van Camp as one of his lock of the weeks. If you don't know, Jacob takes an underdog every week and guarantees they'll win, and he's hit 10 weeks in a row. This is interesting because Nicholas Mata is a very good striker. He's a patient striker that can really crack. He's got solid accuracy, good striker. He is coming off that UFC debut loss to Jim Miller, where he was cracked and he was put out, which is not what people expected to happen in that fight. And he is fighting Cameron Van Camp. Cameron Van Camp, $6,900, incredible value. And he's also coming off a knockout loss. It was to Paulo Fiallo. But the reality is, and this is going to sound stupid because he was knocked out in like 2 minutes. The reality is, though, for those 2 minutes before he was cracked, he actually looked good. He looked good. He was on point. He's a big guy. That was at welterweight. This is lightweight. So I personally think Nicholas Mata wins because he's going to be the more technical striker. But Cameron Van Camp comes forward, throws wild, and can work in some grappling. So with that being said, again, I think Nicholas Mata probably wins, but this fight should be closer to a pick'em. And I think Cameron Van Camp at $6,900 is a very solid, probably the best pick at that price point for sure. Then we have Tony Gravely taking on Javid Bajarat. Javid Bajarat, this is grappler versus grappler. But Javid Bajarat can do more than just grapple. He has 2 fights officially in the UFC. Like, one is a Contender Series, I believe, so it's not on here. But he's got 2 fights. And if you break down those fights, he won one of them by using his wrestling. Not this one, but the one before it. He had 3 takedowns. He had control time. It was a grappling win, and he looked great doing it. This win was a kickboxing win. You see there's no takedowns. There were also no takedown attempts. So Javid can strike, can grapple. He can do all the things. Very well-rounded guy. Very good fighter. And he's taking on Tony Gravely. Tony Gravely, you know what you're going to get with this dude, and it is grapple. He is just going to be diving at legs, shooting a million takedowns. The only reason he doesn't have a takedown here is because he got a knockout in like a minute. So he didn't need a takedown. Before that, though, 11. Only one here, but he was put out. 4, 7, 5. He averages almost 7 takedowns per fight. And the problem with Tony Gravely is his cardio. If I knew for a fact he could go 3 hard rounds of wrestling, he would 100% be my pick, and $7,600 is by far the greatest price you'll ever get somebody like him. Because look at this. Even in decisions, 128 points. And that's because there's so many freaking takedowns, 11 takedowns, almost 12 minutes of control time. That is a ton of points, 5 points per takedown. And Tony Gravely is perfect in these spots. The problem is Javid has very good defensive wrestling, and he's got very good cardio. So I do think Javid wins this fight. Tony Gravely, man, if he wins, he's going to look amazing doing it, because I always say wrestle a wrestler. And that's exactly what Tony's going to do. I just don't know if I can trust his cardio. But if you guys want to take the shot, he might absolutely be worth that $7,600, because this dude shoots over and over and over again. So he may be worth that money. These losses, I think 6 of the 7 losses are submission. And Javid, while he's a very good grappler, isn't necessarily snatching necks, right? So this is a tricky fight to break down. I'm not going to bash anybody spending the $7,600, because even in a loss, he should probably get some takedowns before he gets there. Jillian Robertson versus Maria Agapova. Jillian Robertson should absolutely be in your lineup. At $8,500, I think she is the best value on this card. And that's because she can grapple. She can grapple, she can grapple, she can grapple. She can get the takedowns, and she can bully Maria Agapova. And that is how Maria Agapova lost her last fight. She was just pushed around and taken down. If we look at Jillian's losses, like, oh, wow, she's got a lot of losses. And I get it, right? She's got 4 losses in the UFC, or 5 losses in the UFC. Mayra Buena Silva, quality loss. Macy Barber, that's a quality loss. Santos, quality loss. Miranda Maverick, quality loss. JJ Aldrich, quality loss. These are quality losses. She's losing to people that are just better than her. And Maria Agapova is not better than her. Maria Agapova is a decent striker who can be taken down and bullied and manhandled. And that's exactly what Marina Moroz just did to her. And that's exactly what Jillian Robertson is going to do to her. So I love Jillian Robertson here. I think she's absolutely the best value at $8,500. Then we have Daniel Zellhuber taking on Trey Ogden. Listen, no stats here because he's a Contender Series boy. But Daniel Zellhuber, oh, is he a Contender Series? Either way, it's his UFC debut. But Daniel Zellhuber, the Golden Boy, is the real deal. This guy is long, and he can strike like a maniac. He uses that length really, really well. Really well for his striking. He uses it really well for his takedown defense, and he does use it well for his submissions as well. I'd prefer to not see him taken down, but if he is taken down, he can control himself, he can keep himself safe, and he can work back up. Daniel Zellhuber is the real deal. I do not believe in the Contender Series fade, so I love him. I think he is going to win, and he's going to win by stoppage, and I think he should be in your lineup. Trey Ogden, he's coming off a freaking close loss to Jordan Leavitt. And you guys know how I feel about Jordan Leavitt. The guy's got jiu-jitsu and nothing else. But Trey Ogden is a grappler. He's pretty athletic. He's got some solid takedowns, decent power, but he's absolutely a grappler. He can get some power with his hands, but I just think Zellhuber he's a legitimate talent. I think he's light years ahead of Trey. Trey does have a path if he's just going to shoot takedowns and just hold on for dear life, but I think Zellhuber's just that much better, and I think he is worth the money. Loma Lookboonmee and taking on Denise Gomes. Loma Lookboonmee is a nasty Muay Thai fighter. Very good Muay Thai striker. Very good takedowns, Muay Thai trip style takedowns. She doesn't really have a ton of power because, you know, she's 115 pounds, and even then she's small for this division. But we have seen her work in some grappling as well. She took down Sam Hughes 4 times. She even took down Lupita Godinez, who's one of the bigger, stronger, better grapplers in the division. But Loma Lookboonmee, very good fighter, very good Muay Thai striker. She's taking on Denise Gomes, UFC debut, short notice. Loma Lookboonmee 100% wins this fight without a shadow of a doubt. I just don't like that price. And Denise Gomes is tough. She's a striker. She can grapple as well. But she's going to be just very outclassed. Loma Lookboonmee's a very good fighter and much better. The problem is $9,500. I think that's absurd, not spending it. I do think she wins, but she's not putting people's lights out. She's not submitting people. I'm not spending $9,500 on a 115-pound women's decision. That's just not going to happen. Then we have Trevin Giles taking on Luis Cosce. This is another one. I'm not going to spend the $9,100 on Trevin Giles. He's very athletic. He's got a very nice jab. He can work in takedowns as well. And I want to emphasize how athletic he is because he uses that to his advantage. This Delize win, though, that wasn't a win. That's a loss. Rewatch that fight. He did not win that fight. But he can stay in your face. He literally just pumps that jab over and over and over again. And he just does not score well because it's a million jabs. That's all it is. Jab, 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 jab. Stay in your face. If you're lucky, you'll get a takedown out of him. Not spending $9,100 on him, even though I think he wins. But Luis Cosce, nasty striker. Very, very good striker. He's dangerous as hell. He's got very real power. He was dominating Politnikov here. Almost got his own finish and then just literally blew his wad and blew it. The dude scored 59 points in a loss. Think about that. 59 points in a loss. He was about to get a stoppage. This was going to be well over a 100-point win. Even a decision, he was going to get to 100 points. He had the knockdown, had a takedown, loaded him up with significant strikes, but gassed. That's the problem here. That's the only reason I'm picking against him. I think he'll gas again. Trevin Giles does have cardio. He can grapple. He can jab, 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 dance, dance, dance. I think Trevin Giles wins. 0% chance of spending $9,100. Then we have one of the closest fights on the card. We have Aspen Ladd taking on Olympic silver medalist Sarah McMann. I think Aspen Ladd wins this fight. Is she worth $8,400? That's when it gets a little tricky, but I think so. I think she is because Aspen Ladd is a dog. She is a dog. She lost to Norma Dumont. She lost to Raquel Pennington, but these were essentially striking-based losses. And she still worked in her takedowns with Rocky, but they were striking-based losses. This was after 2 years away, and she just was full of cobwebs. Then Rocky Pennington, one of the best women in the division, and she just couldn't keep up with her in the striking. But Aspen Ladd's a dog. She can strike. She can grapple. She never quits, never stops. She's fighting Sarah McMann. You know what you're going to get with Sarah McMann. She is an Olympic silver medalist wrestler, and that is how she fights, period. She's got striking, but she's not going to do anything with the striking. She needs to take you down and ride out a win from there. Her losses are quality losses. Ketlin Vieira, Marion Renault, Juliana Pena. I mean, these are good losses. Amanda Nunes, Miesha Tate, Ronda Rousey. These are good losses. And that's what makes this pick so tough. I did pick Sarah McMann and bet on her to beat Carol Rosa. But Aspen Ladd is not Carol Rosa. Aspen Ladd gets her own takedowns. And Sarah McMann does get taken down. Even Carol Rosa took her down. So I do think Aspen Ladd wins this fight. I think she gets takedowns. Sarah McMann gasses. Jacob's breakdown on this was that Sarah McMahon's definitely going to win the first round, definitely going to lose the third round, so it comes down to the second, and we think Aspen can get it done. So I like Aspen Ladd, and she's right at that price. It's up to you. $8,400, it's right there if she's worth it or not. I do think she wins, and again, that'll be a game-time decision for me. Pat Sabatini, Damon Jackson. I think Pat Sabatini wins. It's grappler versus grappler. The issue here is it's a lot of money. And I don't think he's going to stop Damon Jackson. Damon Jackson's a very good grappler in his own right. So am I going to spend $9,000 on a grappling decision? Maybe, right? Like Pat Sabatini just put up 106 points with 6 takedowns against Laramie, 105 points with 5 takedowns against Tucker Lutz. And this one's another tough one because Damon Jackson has a very clear path to victory, and that's grapple. You shoot first. What are you waiting for Pat Sabatini for? You shoot. You get the takedowns. You come forward. And, he can do that. The reason, though, that I am going to side with Pat Sabatini, potentially put in my lineup, is this last fight. Dan Argueta, I thought Dan Argueta was going to win this fight. It was short notice, but, he's a very talented guy. And he gave Damon Jackson a really hard time. Damon Jackson did get 10 minutes of control time, but that third round, Argueta took over that third round. So the reality is Damon Jackson was $9,500 in this, only put up 80 points on a short notice UFC debut, and pretty much gave up that third round. I got to go with Pat Sabatini here. He should be the better wrestler, so he'll control the grappling, and I think he's the better pure grappler. The thing is, we have not seen somebody just bring it to Pat. We have not seen somebody just get in his face, throw bombs, shoot takedowns, and relentless pressure. That is what Damon Jackson is. So Damon Jackson could absolutely win this fight. So I do like Pat to win for all the reasons I outlined, but it's not there's a path for Damon, a very real path for Damon. Then we have Alexander Hernandez taking on Marc-Andre Barriault. $8,700. Hernandez should be in your lineup, and he will get the takedowns. 8 takedowns against Josh Freem, 6 takedowns against Park. Obviously, Kevin Holland blasted him, and then he submitted Rodolfo Vieira, one of the best jiu-jitsu guys on the planet. But this was cardio. He was getting his ass kicked. But he had great cardio. Didn't quit. Got that submission in the second round because Rodolfo Vieira gassed harder than I've ever seen anybody gas before, ever. But the reality is, this is striker versus grappler. Alexander Hernandez has proven, or just Alex Hernandez, or Anthony. What the fuck am I saying? Anthony Hernandez. Alexander Hernandez, the little jacked blonde guy. Anthony Hernandez has proven that he can strike as well. He can grapple. I think this is a very clear win. He's fighting Marc-Andre Barriault. Marc-Andre Barriault comes forward. He's got very nice striking. He's got very few takedowns. He can grapple, but he's got very few takedowns in here. But he's got good striking, good pressure, and I just think it's going to work against him. I think he's going to come forward, and I think he's going to, throw up the kickboxing, and then bang, just get taken down. I think it's pretty simple there. Pretty easy breakdown. Anthony Hernandez is going to put up the points, and $8,700 is a solid price point for him. So I like Anthony. I think he's going to get the takedowns, and I don't think there's... you got to worry about Marc-Andre because he is very well-rounded, but outside of that, I think it's pretty clear what Anthony's going to do. Then we have Tanner Boser and Rodrigo Nascimento. These are heavyweights, and Tanner Boser's a little too expensive, so I'm not going to put him in my lineup. But he's an athletic guy. He's not the biggest guy. He's not the biggest heavyweight here, but he's very athletic. He's a fun striker. He's got, solid hands, very real power. Considering his size. This Ovince St. Preux win was fantastic. He dominated start to finish, then got the TKO. Just absolute. That was by far his best performance in the UFC. He's fighting Rodrigo Nascimento. A little bit of time away because he pissed hot. But Nascimento's very good. He's bigger for the weight class. He's got very real power, but he is a grappler. He needs to get the takedowns. If he gets the takedowns, he got solid submissions. But if he gets sucked into a firefight, he's probably going to lose. He will not be the better striker. He won't be faster. He's not going to have the jab, not going to have the footwork. I think Tanner Boser wins because Tanner Boser will have the footwork, will have the jab, should be able to avoid the grappling. But $8,800 is a lot of money to spend because Nascimento is dangerous. Very, very dangerous. He's got good hands, good grappling. He's a dangerous guy. So I'm not going to have Tanner Boser in my lineup. Then we have Joe Pfeifer making his UFC debut. He's taking on Alan Amedowski. Nothing to see here because he is coming off Contender Series and that data doesn't show. But Joe Pfeifer is legit. He's got incredible power. He was on Dana White Contender Series like 2 years ago. His arm snapped in half. Dustin Stoltzfus broke his arm in half. Healed up, came back, and just absolute freight train knocked out his next opponent. Joe Pfeifer has insane power, very good takedowns, and he's the real deal. He's taking on Alan Amedowski. Alan Amedowski was undefeated coming into the UFC and then lost to Jotko, lost to Phillips, lost to Holmes. And, the reality is he's a powerful striker. He does chase knockouts, but there's holes in his grappling. I think Joe Pfeifer is better everywhere. I think he's got more power. I think he's got the better striking, and he absolutely has the better takedowns and grappling. Joe Pfeifer should be in your lineup. He definitely wins. He probably wins by stoppage. Then we got Andre Fili taking on Bill Algeo. This is another tricky fight. Andre Fili is definitely the more well-rounded, more talented fighter. At one point in time, he was a genuine prospect, but they screwed him. Look what they did to him. His second fight, Max Holloway. This poor guy has had a really tough Yair Rodrigues, Calvin Kattar. He's had a tough go at it. He hasn't had the easiest run in the UFC. But the reason I think he loses this fight, even though he's got very good striking, very good wrestling, the reason I think he loses this fight is this loss here. Joe Anderson Brito blasted him. And Andre Fili relies on his chin, and I believe his chin is now gone. He's fighting Bill Algeo. Bill Algeo's coming off that win over Herbert Burns. What a pathetic, sad display from Herbert Burns. If you remember, that's when he basically had like 11 submissions in 5 seconds. Bill Algeo was able to survive, and then Herbert Burns just quit. I've never seen anything like his brother carried him out like somebody carrying a child out of a burning building. It was so sad, so pathetic. Herbert Burns should never show his face again in the UFC. Bill Algeo's tough, Bill Algeo comes forward. He's got pressure. He's got a ton of striking. But Jared had a good, Jared, Jesus Christ, Jared's one of my best friends growing up. Jacob, who I can't stand and does the show with me, Jacob had a good point when he said Bill Algeo is basically a Charles Jourdain. He's tough. He's not a great anywhere. He's just tough, relentless pressure. And it's interesting when you're going against somebody who's actually talented. Because Bill Algeo, not to say he's not talented, but he's not the more talented guy in this matchup. With that being said, I think Bill Algeo wins. I think at $7,900, he's a very good underdog here. And it really just has to do with pressure, grit. He will come forward. He will have volume. And, his chin is still holding up. And he does have a BJJ black belt if it somehow ends up on the ground. Andre Fili's chin is gone. And while he's more talented, more well-rounded, I think his best days are behind him. And Andre Fili's sort of the Cody Garbrandt at this point, where he's the more talented guy, but he's not going to win a lot of these fights. Then we have the co-main event. We have Chidi Njokuani taking on Gregory Rodrigues. And I love Gregory Rodrigues. We've picked him a bunch of times to win, and he's very well-rounded. He's got legitimate power in his hands, good, clean striking. He's a BJJ black belt. The problem is and his wrestling is very good. The problem is he doesn't really use his grappling. He wants to strike. He wants to come forward, bomb away, and he's got the power and he's got the technique to do it. His issue is he's slow. He's physically slow. And he's fighting Chidi Njokuani, who is not slow. Chidi Njokuani is lightning fast, hits like an absolute freight train. My only issue with Chidi is, he can wait. He can be a little gun shy. He can wait, a little lower paced, but he hits so freaking hard, it doesn't matter. I like Chidi Njokuani to win this fight. $8,000 is great. They made him the underdog. I totally get it because Gregory Rodrigues has more ways to win this fight. He can win with grappling. He can outstrike Chidi. But I think Chidi Njokuani's takedown defense, his power, I just think it's just next level. I don't even think it's close. I think he absolutely gets this done. So I'll probably spend the $8,000, have him in my lineup. But Gregory Rodrigues is a great deal at $8,200 as well. So one of those men should be in your lineup because if Rodrigues wins, it's dominant grappling. That will score well. If Chidi Njokuani wins, he put that dude's lights out, and that will score well. Main event, Corey Sandhagen taking on Yadong Song. It's striker versus striker, but Corey Sandhagen's the more well-rounded fighter. Corey Sandhagen has tons of 5-round experience. A lot of people think he won this TJ Dillashaw fight, and while people think he won the Petr Yan fight as well. I saw a stat. He outstruck, at least pure volume, he outstruck Petr Yan 4 out of 5 rounds in this fight. And Corey Sandhagen's a very good striker. Versatile, no power, but versatile striking. He'll kick, he'll punch, he'll spin, like low kicks, high kicks. He's very, very versatile, moves really, really well. And, he can grapple. He's not really shooting a bunch of takedowns, but he's a solid grappler. Like Aljamain submitted him, but that's the champ right now, right? And I think Corey Sandhagen gets it done, and a lot of it is because of that 5-round experience. Song Yadong or Yadong Song, very good striker, technical striker, lightning fast, solid power, team alpha male. So he's got some takedowns as well. We just don't really see them. It's a tough fight. I think Song's a very good live underdog and probably the better value at $7,000 because if he wins, A, $7,000 was not a lot to spend, and B, maybe he can put Corey out. But Corey is not a guy that is easily finished. Corey's more versatile. Corey's got the 5 rounds of non-stop pressure and grit. That's why I'm picking Corey. I don't know if I'm going to have him in my lineup because he's very expensive here. And unless he puts Song away or just dominates, he's not really going to be worth that money. Song Yadong's probably the better price because we may have a situation where Yadong puts up 70 points in a loss because it is just a back-and-forth striking battle. So I think Corey Sandhagen wins. I don't think I'm going to spend the $9,200. Not when we have Joe Pfeifer and we have Daniel Zellhuber. We have those guys on this card that are much more alive for a finish. I'd rather spend the money there than on Corey Sandhagen. But guys, that's the breakdown. Become a premium member. It is only $10 a month. That's nothing. You get the DraftKings Optimizer, where there are other people out there charging you $10 only for the Optimizer. Then you got to pay them more money to get the rest of the shit. Not us. $10 gets you the Optimizer, gets you ownership projections, point projections, fighter rankings by salaries, our best fade, our best value pick, our best favorite, our best underdog, all of our bets, all of our picks, all of our raw notes. We give you everything for $10, never touching that price point ever. And again, you could think I'm an idiot who doesn't know what he's talking about. It doesn't matter. Use the Optimizer. That alone is worth $10. Everything else is the cherry on top. WeWantPicks.com. At the top, click Become a Member.